Kadesh was an ancient city of the Levant, located on or near the headwaters or ford of the Orontes River. It was of some importance during the Late Bronze Age, and is mentioned in the Amarna letters. It was the site of the Battle of Kadesh between the Hittite and Egyptian empires in the 13th century BC. Name and location. The name is from the West Semitic root Qds, holy. It is rendered Qdsw in Egyptian and Qades in Hittite. Akkadian-speaking variants include Kinza, Qdz, Kidza, Giza. Kadesh is identified with the ruins at Tel Nebimend, about 24 kilometers southwest of Homs near Al-Qasr and adjacent to the modern-day Syrian village of Tel al-Nabi Mando. The text of the inscriptions of the Battle of Kadesh locates Kadesh as being near Tunip in the land of the Amurru, itself assumed to have been near the Orontes River. Some scholars also identify Kadesh with the city of Qadesh. It is mentioned by Herodotus that led a coalition of city-states opposing the conquest of the Levant by Thutmose III. In mounting this opposition, the king of Kadesh was probably guided by the ruler of Mitanni, Egypt's primary foreign rival in control of the Levant. Although Amenophes II campaigned in the Jadi from then on until the reign of Hormheb for a century and a half, Canaan was independent of Egyptian rule. Amarna letters. Correspondence between the ruler of Kadesh and the pharaoh Akhenaten is preserved amongst the Amarna letters. Kadesh is known as Kidshu in these Akkadian language letters. The names of three kings of Kadesh survive from contemporary sources: Sultana, Etekama and his son Ari-Teshub. Seti I campaign. The city was captured by the great pharaoh Seti I in 1306 BC during his campaign to Syria. Kadesh had been lost to Egypt since the time of Akhenaten. Tutankhamun and Hormheb had both failed to recapture the city from the Hittites. Seti I was successful here and defeated a Hittite army that tried to defend it. He triumphantly entered the city together with his son Ramesses II and erected a victory stela at the site. His success was only temporary. As soon as Seti I returned to Egypt, the Hittite king, Merzilis II, marched south to take Kadesh and made it a stronghold of the Hittite defenses in Syria. The Hittites ruled through a viceroy in Carchemish. Battle of Kadesh. The city is best known as the location of one of the best documented battles of the ancient world, the Battle of Kadesh, staged between the superpowers of the 13th century BC, the Egyptian and Hittite empires. An Egyptian vassal for approximately 150 years, Kadesh eventually defected to Hittite suzerainty, thereby placing the city on the contested frontier between the two rival empires. In response to this Hittite ascendancy and expansion southwards, the Egyptian pharaoh Ramesses II prepared an aggressive military response and captured the coastal state of Amurru. In 1274 BC, the fifth year of Ramesses' reign, he led a large force of chariots and infantry 1,000 miles to retake the walled city. In the Battle of Kadesh, the two forces clashed, in what is widely regarded as the largest chariot versus chariot battle in history, on the plain south of the city and west of the Orontes River. The next year, the Hittites moved south to recover Amurru, while the Egyptians moved north to continue their expansion into Syria. The inhabitants of the city of Kadesh had cut a channel from the river to a stream south of town, which had turned the town into a virtual island. The subsequent battle, fought at Kadesh, saw the Egyptians turning a near defeat into victory, routing the enemy forces. After Hittite spies convinced the Egyptians that the Hittites were further away than they were, the Hittites surprised the Egyptians in their own camp. The Egyptian army was only saved by the arrival of a supporting force from coastal Amurru. Ramesses II was able to recover the initiative, and the two armies withdrew in stalemate, both claiming victory. Aftermath. Kadesh, however, remained under Hittite overlordship. Amurru returned to the Hittite fold, and the Hittite army continued its conquest southward as far as Upi, the territory around Damascus. The subsequent impasse between Egypt and Hatti ultimately led to what is now recognized as one of the earliest surviving international peace treaties, concluded several decades later between Ramesses II and his Hittite counterpart, Hattusili III. The end of Kadesh. Kadesh vanished from history after it was destroyed by the invading Sea Peoples in around 1178 BC. However, Hellenistic remains have been found in the upper levels of the Tell, and the summit is still occupied today. Continuous occupation throughout the Islamic period is likely, the mount having been named after a local Muslim saint or prophet, Nebimend. In Byzantine times, widespread occupation is evidenced by extensive remains at the foot of the Tell, which is believed to represent the city of Laodicea ad Libanum. Bibliography. Sergei Ignatov, Dardanians, Moesians and Phrygians in the Kadesh inscriptions of Ramses II, Thracia, 11, 1995.